Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 42 of my Industrial Revolution 3 playthrough. In this episode, we are going to upgrade our character with hydrogen fuel cells, but more importantly, we are going to upgrade the factory with quantum labs and set up all the things we need to in order to make those buildings. Enjoy! Well, they need to be near hydrogen so they can be filled up properly. So somewhere over here, and we probably don't need very many of them. I'm guessing just the one machine will be fine. So this one can be basically just connected right here. That's perfectly fine. And then another one, making the empties. And then we need all of this. And since we're not going to be making these very fast, we can easily just deliver these by robot. We'll just make the request. So everything is in there. Probably needs way more than it has. Let's add a 0 on all of these. And well, we can get rid of those other batteries and put the good ones in. And we are slightly building up on the carbon dioxide. I mean, it's not overloaded, so that's great. Yeah, the pollution's so much better now. It's certainly bad out there, but trees don't care. They're doing fine. And actually, it looks like we're basically filled up on wood. This is running essentially as fast as it can. It's just it wasn't really designed to be compact. I mean, we could do this, connect the pipes in the middle, and then those would be connected like that. So let's make a ton of pollution, pick all this up. So we really need to crank this up. So much stuff. So then we need this. Could we do it with this spacing? It doesn't look like it. We are going to have to change that a little bit. So we've got to pull up all of these. So all of that should be balanced. And it is. And then they have to be spaced like that. So there's going to be slightly less of them in here, but they are going to be faster. We could actually add some productivity modules in here, but since these are renewable resources, probably don't need to bother with it, especially because it's a 1-to-1 ratio right now, and I'd rather not mess that up with productivities. We may need to just split these belts apart if that's more wood than we can handle on one blue belt. It's so nice that these trees aren't being harmed by the pollution anymore. Over the past hour, you can see what the iron boilers were doing. And yes, like blast furnaces, gas furnaces are going, but overall it's a lot quieter. We definitely want to build some of these better labs. Not only is their research speed 4 times as high as the electric lab, but it also has more module slots. And it looks like as far as energy consumption goes, it is actually better. But as you can see, it is a very expensive building. Lots of null field plates, lots of quantum rings. And then to make those items, we're going to need the super magnet, which in itself requires a bunch of stuff, as well as some superconductive EM coils. And those coils in themselves are extremely expensive. So the question, as always, is how many of these are we actually going to need to build? Because the EM coil only goes into the super magnet and the quantum field ring. The quantum field ring only goes into the lab and the transmat. So we don't actually need to make these anywhere close to what you might consider fast. So that means we can put it anywhere, and when thinking about the logistics, the place we should put it is where it minimizes the amount of work that the robots are going to have to do to deliver items. And clearly, if each one of these needs 240 graphene, then we need to put it next to something that makes lots of graphene, and then those other items we can deliver. Well, we're making a lot of graphene for our nanoglass, and we're also doing it for our blue circuits. In neither situation are we putting that on a belt, it's being direct inserted. And this is already making the gold wire too. And since we don't need to make this very fast at all, we can just kind of haphazardly put this in here. And it can go anywhere. But let's put it in there. So, something like that will work, and we should give this its module complement. Looks like we removed them, so we have to add them in there, where it would be 1 speed, and then the rest of them would be efficiencies. So we need some gold wire, and then the other items that would have to be delivered would be the chromed plates and the rivets. I'm pretty sure both of those are going to be available. It's really nice that we have access to all of the robot logistics now. And this request is red, which means it is not available, whereas this one is yellow, which means that it is, so we don't have rivets. Fill up to about 200, and robots are on their way. And there it goes. Well, it actually makes it really fast. It's just it takes so much graphene. There it is. It'll make 10 of them for us. And that's going to allow us to make the super magnet. And the next thing we're going to need from that is the quantum field ring, which requires a bunch of random stuff, and specifically the field effector. And that needs to be made in our new building, the super magnet. So there we go. Quickly making those buildings. And there it is. Pretty cool look to it. It's basically a battery charger with the fluid inputs. That's essentially what it's doing, is taking these crystals and charging them up. It does not take modules, and as you can see, this creates them extremely slowly. 0.008 per second. So it's hard to say exactly how many of these we're going to want. They only go into the field effectors, and then those only go into very specific things. So it's not like we're going to need a huge amount of these. However, we do want at least a few of them. So just having one machine is probably not very smart. So maybe we can do like 10 of them. It's going to take a little while based on the amount of graphene that this takes. So I guess we'll just do it off to the side. So crystals come in, crystals go out, fluids go in, fluids go out. But we actually have to space these apart by 1. So that's 4, 6, 8, and 10. It'll be a little zigzaggy to go this way, but that's fine. We don't really need to fill an entire belt with these. I'm going to put that there just to make sure they fill up one side real quick. And there it goes. That's a pretty cool look. It's, yeah, basically charging the crystal as it said. And it is an extremely slow machine. I kind of see why they don't have module slots, is because the design of this is that it is supposed to be slow. So they don't want to have modules in here where you can just kind of cheat it. So that's pretty cool. But now we'll need to do the field effector. And since graphene is nearby and circuits are nearby, we should probably just do it here. And I'm guessing we're only going to need one assembler for this. So we'll pull in the graphene there. And now we just need those plates, and they are going to be very far away. So we'll make a request for them. They are not on the network. Let's just put 200 in there. And robots are coming to pick it up. So there it goes. Very quickly making what we need. And now that we have those, we can make a quantum field ring. And we're already requesting those null field plates here. And the nanoglass is very nearby. So we should be able to just do this right here. But yeah, these require 2 megawatts each. It's actually quite substantial. That when our factory is dormant, it's actually the biggest power consumer. Of course, we have nuclear power, and it looks like it just went below 50%, so ethanol is going. But I think we need to wait for those to build up a little bit. However, seeing the reactors run reminds me that we have our old power plant still here. And it hasn't been doing anything, but that's because we disconnected it. Because you want to be super sure that the factory is running nicely on the new power source before you remove the old one. And it totally is, so we don't need any of this anymore. So it's time to somewhat carefully pull it all out. There's the army. Probably just going to need to scrap all of these steam engines. I don't think they really go into anything besides themselves. Yeah, it looks like, no, the best thing is to scrap it. So we've got a bunch of random stuff in here, and looks like some old bronze poles, which is always nice to get rid of. It's nice to get rid of these old wooden poles too. I guess now that the power plant is removed, we technically could expand our gold plating solution here and take up the whole space. But since it's working, there's probably no reason to mess with it. That was our steam pump bypass, which we don't need anymore either. We don't need the power switch or any of that logic, or this random accumulator here, or this steam pipe. That was just being used to power the inserters. There's a lot of random roboports in here. Seems like we don't need to have so many in such a small spot, but oh well, they were there before, so they will stay. And 100% on the reactors. So they have clicked on. Yep, as expected. And they are filling up the accumulators. And we're making progress. We're really not making accumulators all that fast. We certainly could, but I believe in the vanilla Factorio they have 10 megajoules in it. It's kind of hard to see here, but in IR3 they're actually 60. They're quite effective. So when all this is said and done, we're going to have quite a bit of energy storage. And I'll wait until they're all placed and then we can synchronize the accumulators by just forcing the reactors to turn on until they're all maxed out at 100%. So how are we doing here? Well, all those are running, charging up the crystals, and we've got 10 rings in here. So we threw that in there, and very quickly, it's going to make a quantum field ring. And that's finally what we need for this, except everything else is on the main bus, so from here, we will send them out there. And we might as well use a storage chest, in case we find any of these in our inventory. And like everything else related to these rings, let's just make it 10, because they are so expensive to make. You can see we made our one ring, basically, and it stopped because this is going nuts. Okay, we're getting there. It's taken quite a bit of work, but we now finally have everything we need to make these labs. And where are we going to want to make these? Well, it does require those junction boxes, so doing it near where we're making them might be a good idea. And since we're already pulling them in here, how about we do the same? And also we're pulling in the null filled plates, which we need more than we can possibly feed. So we'll just put that in there. That belt's a little contaminated, but I have the feeling it will clear itself up automatically. Alright, so now we need those quantum field rings. We'll just ask for the 10. And finally, we're getting this lab set up. Well, there we go. That's 1. But we actually need 3 of them. So we're going to have to wait a little bit. Well, one thing we can do is calculate exactly how many of these labs we're going to need. Kind of hard to say because the numbers are going to be a little different. And they're also going to have more modules in them. But the numbers are exactly 4 times as high. So a starting point is probably a fourth of the number of labs. So since we have 24 of them here, how about let's build 6 of them. And this is going to very much trash our inventory here. I think they're a different size as well, so we can't just drop them in here. So we should probably wait until we can actually see them to make a plan for how big they are. Well, one other thing I'd like to do is start upgrading the factory with productivity modules, now that we have nuclear power. And I believe our reactors can put out about 300 megawatts or so. So as long as our total factory's power consumption is less than 300 on average, we should be fine. And of course, we can just build another reactor group. We can support quite a few of them. So our power consumption is going to dramatically increase. And luckily, because we built these with our current technology, at least current at the time, it didn't think about the future. It means that although we're going to put productivity modules in here and slow them way down, because we have 1 tier higher of the crusher, it'll essentially make up for the fact that we're putting in productivities and we won't have to change the build. Unfortunately though, the ore washing plants will not change. We just have the 1 tier, so we're gonna have to work with that, but we do need the advanced crushers, and of course we'll want to automate this and still have the 1 ring in there. So there's the steel. Making lots and lots of pistons. So we actually need to make the diamond cutters now. We'll just put a stack inserter there because we probably have no hope of keeping up with that. And since we already have these frames on a belt, even though they are quite expensive, we'll just keep it going. So there we go. After all of that, finally making the crushers. So do we actually have a few of these here? Unfortunately, no. We're still stuck on the 1 ring. So why aren't we making more? No graphene. And that's because no helium. Well, I guess that makes sense. It's kind of the problem with a helium centipede, is that this needs to run in order to actually get anything out of this, so we cannot pull it out there. I guess we'll just pick this random machine here then, and load it up with speed modules too. So we finally have enough to get this started. Of course, it's a fast machine. Most assemblers are. And there we go. The Quantum Lab. And good thing we checked, because it's a little large. It will still fit in here. Not up here, but we don't need to do double-sided anymore. We can just kind of put them right there. So robots are coming in grabbing stuff. Pretty sure all these science packs have somewhere to go. Man, that is a big lab. But it has one extra module slot to it. You know, it's not much, but when it comes to the productivity modules, you want to stack as many of them as you can in one building, so now we have a 30% bonus to productivity. So to get this in here, we'll need to have a regular, a long-handed, and then a long-handed up there. The main difference between the two labs, besides that module slot and their speed, is that you can put space science in here. So you do need to use these labs if you want to use space science. So that's 2, and fortunately that is kind of in the way. Does it have to be right here? Usually they do, but I suppose we can put one like right there. Does that mess things up? Kinda. So, one more right there. So 3, 4, and those are kind of in the way. 5, and 6. Well, we're going to have to wait these out. It's going to take a little while. I would like for them to all be placed before we start research so we can compare the production numbers and see exactly how many of them we need. But for now, we can come through here and update our machines. So we've got a certain number of them, 48 of them, and they need to produce 30 a second. One other thing we can do is just compare it on a machine by machine basis, so we know we need 625 out of one machine. So we can just kind of plop one in and see how it works. So we put the faster one in there, probably change the module inserter to put the productivities in. We do that, and it actually puts out a lot more than 625. So the double the speed plus the productivity really helps. And when you look at the productivity bonus, where you get a negative 5% to speed every time, and here you get 4% productivity, here you get 6, but you actually get 10 with productivity 3s. So they're actually quite good. So for now, I think I'm going to pull all these out, because we just want to do machines instead. So we hit the upgrade planner, and now they're all marked. Unfortunately, with the ore washing plant, we can't switch the machines out. All we can do is put the productivities in. So if we do that, we can compare the numbers, where with the productivities we're getting 1.05, and without them it's 1.25. So it's a little worse, but only at full flow would that really matter. Well, one thing we can do is put those in, and if we run out, we can upgrade these last machines, and maybe with speed modules to make up for it, just to see if the productivities will work, because we would want to use the productivities if they will work. And productivities are most effective in situations like this where they are getting stacked on top of each other, so going through the crushers once and then the washers again will get double the effect. And we could use electric furnaces so we can put productivities in there, but we probably shouldn't. For one, they create a lot of pollution, but also when we research the arc furnace, it will come with its built-in productivity. So there's really no reason to do that. So we just have a lot of machines we need to upgrade. We have to wait for all of those to get upgraded, but at least for now, we can update the modules in all of the washers. So we can kind of come through here, hit each washer setup, and this one that we built to work on iron, that's so much larger, it will probably actually take the productivity modules just fine. And then we have to upgrade all of the crushers. However, these ones already were upgraded, so they might be a little slow with the productivities, but we can also just kind of put a few more in there because we do have the space for it, so we'll just see. Very rarely does this run at full speed anyway, so it does have room to use those productivities. Might as well see. So we still need 3 labs, and it looks like we are actually making the rings now. Pretty much at full blast. So we just have to wait it out. I would like to upgrade more stuff in the factory, but we should probably wait for all this to get placed so I don't forget that they're there and that they're going to need the better modules. I don't think it's really worth upgrading these alloy furnaces just because it's going to create a lot of pollution And we should probably see, once our ore production has been productivity'd, to make sure that it doesn't completely destroy our power network. I kind of want to have a new line on here of circuit HUD, a junk indicator. So we'll do that with just a HUD combinator. Put it anywhere, and I guess we'll just make it the green wire. And I kind of want to just hook it up to everything. So it'll just go through every single chest, because essentially anything that's here is junk. And I would like to know the status at times. So we have a bunch of stuff here. We'll just call it junk. Although we could sort it between things that are about to be processed and things that have been processed. Come on, one more lab. I want to see these things running. And this is future Marsh jumping in here, because for some reason the microphone audio dropped off. Either I didn't notice at the time, or maybe the audio file got corrupted. So for this last little bit, I'm just going to jump in here and mention what happened. Basically, the last lab and crushers were placed, so I go through and finish upgrading all of the modules for our ore processing setups. And then we need some research to see how these labs work. And I decide on getting power armor equipment, because that's always nice. And I also decide on getting the fusion reactor for our character. And I note that the fusion reactor puts out 2 megawatts, and the batteries on the armor put out 250 kilowatts. So the fusion reactor is about twice as power dense. Also, it uses the fuel manager and actually uses uranium fuel cells, which is really cool. And I talk about how awesome the sound effects and graphics on these labs are. They seem very futuristic. And I check the speeds, where the research speed with our labs is 1.54, and our output for science is 1.4, so that seems pretty balanced. And after that, we check to see how well the research goes and look around the factory looking for issues. And there don't seem to be any, so it looks like our new science setup is working properly. And that'll be the end of this episode. On the next one, we are going to upgrade our power armor and continue expanding the factory. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.